מעומק הלב למשפחתו של רב סמל בכיר גאלב נאסר, זכרו לברכה, שנפל היום בקרב ברצועת עזה.
My heartfelt condolences to the family of Ghaleb Nasser of blessed memory, who was killed in battle today in the Gaza Strip. The entire people of Israel mourns together with the dear family. The entire state salutes this hero. I would like to extend the speedy recovery wishes for those soldiers who were injured in battle. I would like to strengthen the soldiers and commanders. I've instructed the IDF to act aggressively, to react aggressively. We are in a war of resurrection, the war of seven fronts, and there are very heavy prices to pay in this war, and every such loss means an entire world that's been lost. But as a nation that seeks to live, we have no choice but to continue and fight for our mere survival until we reach victory. Citizens of Israel, as your Prime Minister, I will not give in. I will not give in to the murderers who carried out the worst massacre the Jewish people has experienced since the Holocaust. Because if I will surrender like that, it will risk this country, it will risk all of you. We are in the final stages of the campaign, and we need patience in order to win. And if we give in to what Hamas wants right now, all the great achievements that we've reached thanks to our soldiers, thanks to those who have been killed, thanks to those who have been injured, all of these achievements will simply go down the drain. Since the beginning of the war, we have heard people calling to put an end to the war and to surrender. And we've been hearing more and more of these voices recently. If I were to listen to these calls, we would not have entered Rafah, we would not have conquered the Philadelphia corridor, we wouldn't have carried out the Beeper operation, we wouldn't have killed Sinwar, Def, Hania, and Nasrallah. We wouldn't have led to the conditions that led to the toppling of the Assad regime, and we wouldn't have changed the face of the Middle East. We would simply have continued to live under this existential threat. So now I'd like to say a few words about Iran. I am committed to preventing them from achieving nuclear weapons. I'm relentless about that, and I will not withdraw from that, not even 1 millimeter. But the most amusing thing is to hear the criticism of all those who have objected to everything I've done over the years in order to delay their nuclear program. Without these actions, Iran would have had nuclear weapons already a decade ago. But many of these people who are speaking today have systematically objected to all my activities and to my hardline policy. So I guess there is no limit to hypocrisy. As for Iran's proxy in Gaza, if we will not finally eliminate all the military capabilities of Hamas, the next October 7th and the next abductions are merely a matter of time. Hamas are saying that they're going to do it, they intend to do it, and they're working on doing it. If we keep the Hamas regime in Gaza, it will be a tremendous defeat for Israel and a huge victory for Iran. Over this past weekend, once again, Hamas rejected a proposal that could have led to the release of half of the living hostages who are still held captive in Gaza and the return of many of the bodies of the hostages. But what they want is to remain in government. They are also demanding complete Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, and the rehabilitation of Gaza with immense sums of money coming in will help them rearm themselves. But we wish to convey a message to all of Israel's enemies. If that happens, it will give a message that by abducting Israelis, you can get Israel to surrender and give in. And it is a clear-cut message that terrorism pays off. And this will undermine the safety and security of the whole world. And under these conditions, even the important vision of President Trump will not be realized. The vision that will change the destiny of Gaza and will help us live with security. So I insist on not putting an end of this war of revival and resurrection before we guarantee that the Gaza Strip will not pose a threat on Israel once again. Those people in Israel who are calling out irresponsibly to end to the war and to agree to the terms of surrender of Hamas. What are they doing? They are encouraging and echoing verbatim the Hamas propaganda and echoing their psychological warfare against us and the families. And they're not bringing the release of hostages any closer. They are pushing it further away, leaving them there for longer. The terms suggested by Hamas are not new. They have demanded these surrender terms time and again in all of their negotiations. But which Israeli responsible leader could accept such terms after October 7th? I can't, and I'm sure that you wouldn't be able as well. Those who are asking us, who are calling us to surrender to the demands of Hamas, they say, you need to leave now, you need to cheat Hamas, promise that you won't resume the fighting, and after they give back all the hostages, Hamas, you can resume the war. The greatest absurdity is that they are saying that on TV studios out in the open while Hamas is watching them. You understand? They're actually saying, say to Hamas, we are informing you that we're lying to you and you need to agree to that. Hamas, they're a bunch of despicable murderers, but they're definitely not stupid. They demand binding international guarantees that will not allow this illusion of deceit that all those self-appointed experts are suggesting on TV studios. They have no idea how the international system operates. No one, definitely not the US, but also not China or Russia or any other members of the Security Council. Nobody will cooperate with such a scam, and that will mean that it's impossible to resume the war. We won't have any kind of legitimacy to do so. You need to remember how quickly Israel lost its international legitimacy in this war, which is the most just war in our history, after the monsters of Hamas murdered over 24 hours over 1,200 Israelis and abducted over 250 Israelis. But things got turned against us very quickly, and there was diplomatic pressure on us, and we suffered from an arms embargo from some of our best friends, and we are dealing with allegations of genocide in the international arena as we're speaking. So let me clarify, there is no fake commitment. If we promise not to fight, then we won't be able to resume the war. And Hamas is demanding full withdrawal of the IDF from the Gaza Strip, from the security strip, from the Philadelphia corridor that protects Israelis from Hamas. I would like to ask you, did our soldiers, did our fighters fight in vain? Were our soldiers killed and injured in vain? In Lebanon, in Syria, we also had security zones in order to protect the residents of the north of Israel. And the meaning of withdrawal from the security zone in the Gaza Strip, it means that very quickly Hamas will rehabilitate its army of terrorists and will be able to carry out mass abductions and another massacre. It is my duty as Prime Minister to prevent that. And indeed, that's what I'm doing. I believe that we can bring back our hostages without giving in to the demands of Hamas. This is what I've done so far. Do you know that in one of the first discussions in the cabinet after the beginning of the war, perhaps the first discussion, a senior official in the security establishment said that we will have to get used to the fact that maybe we won't be able to bring back even one hostage. I thought differently. I believe that the combination of military and diplomatic pressure together will lead to the release of hostages. Many people didn't believe that, but so far we brought back 196 hostages, out of them 147 still alive. We still have 24 living hostages in the Gaza Strip and 35 hostages who have been killed. We haven't completed our mission yet, and we're going to do so without surrendering to Hamas. Since the outbreak of the war in recent days, as well, my wife and myself have met with many of the hostage families, and we've spoken with them. We will continue to meet with all of them, as we've done since the beginning of the war. I meet with the people. I understand the terrible torment and suffering of the families, the parents, the siblings, the children, the wives. I can feel their tremendous pain, and I hear how their heart cries out, and it tears my heart apart. And we are going to increase our pressure over Hamas until we achieve all the war's goals. And let me once again emphasize, we will not give up on any hostage, whether dead or alive. We are determined to bring them all back home. citizens of Israel, we are in the midst of a war spanning several arenas, and it is an unprecedented one, thanks to the heroism of our courageous soldiers, and thanks to the spirit of our people, and thanks to the policy, the hardline policy taken by the government I lead. We have achieved some major achievements, but we haven't completed the war yet, and we are determined to do so as we end the holiday of liberty, of freedom, and as we begin the Mimuna, and before Holocaust Remembrance Day and Memorial Day for fallen soldiers, which bring us all together. I'd like to say we are going to face many challenges, but we can overcome them because we will do so together with determination, with belief, and with a great spirit in the hearts of our nation. Together we will stand, together we will fight, and God will...
Well, that was the Prime Minister of Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, saying that the war is going to continue in Gaza, as he says, until Hamas are no longer able to control that region. He says that the Israeli army cannot give in while there is still a threat in Gaza. Let's bring in our correspondent, Nicole Johnston, who has been listening in to the Prime Minister speaking there in the last few minutes. So, Nicole, Prime Minister Netanyahu making it very clear that the fighting, the war, will continue in Gaza. They will continue to strike Hamas. And he says, as he said since the very beginning of this, they will try and bring all the hostages home.
That's right. This was clearly Netanyahu trying to make his case for continuing the war in Gaza. He is feeling under pressure. There are protests in Israel, including one tonight. So he knows that he needs to once again lay out the reasons for continuing the war inside Gaza. Now, we did have an Israeli proposal this week for a ceasefire. It was a proposal that would have meant 10 hostages were released for a 45-day ceasefire in Gaza. That was rejected by Hamas. Hamas's position is that it won't lay down its arms. It wants to go back to the phase 2 of the original ceasefire agreement that Israel rejected. And under that phase 2, Israel would have withdrawn from the Gaza Strip. But Israeli Prime Minister has made it very clear that that is not going to happen. And if anything, all of the indications and the noises that we've had over the last few weeks is that Israel intends to stay in the Gaza Strip. They have said that. They have expanded the buffer zone inside Gaza. Israel calls it a security zone. It says that it is necessary to have that security zone to protect the people of Israel. Palestinians, of course, inside Gaza will see that as taking more of their land, further reducing the amount of space that they have inside Gaza. In some areas, that buffer zone is now 3 kilometres wide, remembering that the Gaza Strip is only 40 kilometres long and sort of 7 to 10 kilometres wide. Israel has also taken another area in the southern part of Gaza. It's called the Morag Corridor. That was only completed in the last week. So we can see that the Gaza Strip is being bisected by corridors and by buffer zones. So once again, the Israeli Prime Minister appealing to the people of Israel to stay with him. But we know that he is under a great deal of pressure, that he is having to lay out his case time and time again. Overall, this speech was about Gaza, but he did go on to mention Iran as well. And he said that Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Now, he is, of course, referring to the talks that we've had underway in Rome today, talks between the United States and Iran, indirect or proximity talks they're called, about Iran's nuclear program. Israel has made it clear over the last weeks and months and years that it would like to carry out a strike on Iran. It thinks that now is the time to do that the Iranian regime is weakened, that its proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, have all suffered, that it has lost its main ally in the region, Syria, and that now is a time to prevent Iran from having a nuclear program. Now, that is a red line for the Iranians. They say that their nuclear program is peaceful, that it is civilian, that they're allowed to have it. The United States, the other party in this negotiation regarding Iran, its position is quite confusing at this stage. Its main envoy, Steve Witkoff, he has said that, earlier in the week, he said that Iran would be allowed to a limited amount of enrichment of its uranium. He then backtracked a few days later and said that the program effectively should be dismantled. So for the Iranians, there's a great deal of concern about what level of trust they have with the United States. It is very low. But all of these issues, Gaza and Iran, are clearly weighing on the mind of the Israeli Prime Minister, leading to this special address to the nation tonight.
Nicole, thank you for that, a special address to the nation from Prime Minister Netanyahu, where he said the war is going to go on. Nicole Johnston there in Jerusalem.